We think of our humanity as imperfect. But imperfection is our benefit. It is what makes us human. Imperfection is not a hindrance for us to achieve our holiness. In fact, it is through our imperfection that we find our perfection. Today is the manifestation of that fact. Our imperfection. Through our imperfection, we will find our perfection. Why? Because God had embraced our imperfection. Jesus is also imperfect. If he is imperfect, therefore he has weaknesses. He does. He does have weakness. Not only one, many weaknesses. No, Father, you are very sick. Jesus can never have weakness because he is God. It's written in the gospel. I'm not making this up. If you want to know the weakness of Jesus, you look it up and you ask the master of our own weaknesses, the one who knows very well our weaknesses. And who is that? The devil. When Jesus was tempted, the devil knows what his weaknesses are. And he precisely tempted him and never gave up tempting him, trying to achieve the purpose of his evil intentions. So what separates us from Jesus and others? It's a very good thing that we reflect on today's feast day. Today we have Mary, the Mother of God. And what does this mean for us? First and foremost, our imperfection is not equal to sin. Our weaknesses does not mean equal to sin. There is a big difference between imperfection, weaknesses, and sin. Our imperfection, as I said, is our existential reality. We as being creatures are always finite. We can never be that same perfection as God because he is without beginning and without end. We have our beginning. And once we begin, we participate. We participate in that existence. In existence, there are degrees with which we participate. And we, as human beings, are asked not to be afraid of this imperfection because they are very important. They are very important. And this is to which Jesus came to be man, to tell us the fact that it is not a hindrance. Our weaknesses are not hindrances. In fact, they are a way to salvation. So let me tell you the secret. Wow. Are you ready to hear the secret? Listen very well because it affects us all. First and foremost, this imperfection and weakness is not equal to sin. What does it mean to sin? Father, I'm always getting angry because my character always is volatile. It's part of my weakness. So we often say that we sin because of this weakness. But what is sin? According to the Bible, sin is not a matter of just doing what is wrong. That is the result of something you failed to do. And what is the most important thing? The failure to hit the mark, to hit the goal. Kata means miss the goal, miss the mark. And that means God has a purpose for each one of us. He created us for a certain purpose. Each one of us are different. Don't ask me what is the purpose. Don't ask me that. Each one of us is different. So, God created us for a divine purpose. And if we miss that purpose, we sin. I would like you to reflect on that, because many times we misconstrue our weaknesses equals sin. Jesus, how did he do it? We learn from him. He knows, the devil knows that he is hungry. He tempted him to create bread out of the stone. Okay? He can do that. That's the easiest thing for him to do. And you know what happened? He turned this weakness to become his strength. When he was on the cross, he was asked, go down from the cross. Oh, very easy to do. It would be great, it would be glorious for our eyes when he goes down to the cross. But no. That is not the purpose with which God sent me. He stuck to the purpose of God. So we didn't sin. Every time we are tempted with regards to our own weaknesses, let us remind ourselves, what does God want me? What is his purpose for me? Focus yourself on that purpose, you will not sin. That's why the devil doesn't want you to learn what his purpose is for you. Because if we go headlong with regards to the vocation that he asks us to do, we are sure to go to heaven. So, the big question is, what is his purpose for you? What does he want you to become? What is your mission? You see, many of them great thinkers of our days always think of them. What is our purpose? Our weaknesses is not only not equal to sin, but it is also the way with which we come to understand ourselves. And what does it mean for us? It means that all of us, through our own weaknesses, first and foremost, should be aware of our own weaknesses. Because without this awareness, how can you fight it off? Kung alam mo matakaw ka, mahanap sa pagkain. Focus mo. Kahit kayo makiko. So, if you know that you are already in this kind of situation, of course, you should do something better. You should know better. And the fact that we fail always, all the time, every time is because tao lang ako. I'm just human. Prone to error. These are very good excuses. I tell you. It's true that we are imperfect, but this imperfection should lead us towards what God wants us to do. And this is the thing that I would like to share with you, my dear people of God. That we are all called to holiness. And this holiness can only be achieved only if we have that direction coming from God. And that direction can only be known through the guidance of His Spirit and through the guidance of God Himself. Because that's the first thing. The first thing is the fact that Adam and Eve would like to take in their own hands the knowledge of good and evil. And what does that mean, knowledge? Knowledge doesn't mean to understand good and evil. In the biblical sense, when you say knowledge, it means experience. You experience sin. They would like to take in their hands to experience sin. So, if you don't believe me, you try to look it up in the Bible when they say, Adam and Eve knew each other. And what came out? They didn't came out with a boat. Huh? Abel and Cain came out. That means it's an experience between the two of them. They make sex. To experience, that's how tangible that means. Experiencing in the biblical sense is to really undergo that experience with which we develop things down. So, when we sin at that time, it's so important for us to understand that our imperfection is not a hindrance towards God. It is our vehicle to reach God. And we reach God only by the fact that we are weak and we need Him. So, what shall we do? We imitate our Blessed Mother. And what does our Blessed Mother tell us now? When you encounter the difficulties and the struggles that we undergo because of our weaknesses, it is very important that first and foremost, that we become aware of our weakness. Second, open yourself. Because our imperfection becomes perfect only in as much it is filled. Imperfect na. Kulang mo. So dapat tuman. You have to fill it up. It can only be filled by God. And we can only be filled up only in as much as we open ourselves. And that's what Mary is doing. She opened herself in a simple word. Here, he reflected and put everything into her heart. Reflection is opening, putting into his heart is being filled up. We can only reach our perfection in as much as we are open. That's why when Adam and Eve sinned, they hid themselves when God was looking for them because they were afraid they were naked. Who told you that you were naked? God asked them. Because in that nakedness, we are open. Openness. At the beginning, when we are not seen yet, we are open. We are not afraid. We are not afraid to be our own selves. We are not afraid of what others would think about us. That's nakedness. But once we sin, we close ourselves. And once we are closed, we are only filled with what? Filled with ourselves. That's why we are asked, you have to empty yourself. These are very, very complicated terms. You know? Many times when they say, you have to empty yourselves, the result of many of these people, they misconstrue it. The result, they end up in a psychiatric ward. Why? Because they destroy themselves. They thought that emptying themselves is killing yourself. No way! Is punishing yourself? No! Emptying ourselves is first open ourselves to God. Let Him enter and be filled with Him. That's empty. You will be really empty. So, my dear friends, I hope I'm getting something. I hope you get it. If you would really like to understand and to be able to really achieve our holiness, first and foremost, the first question is, what does God want for each one of us? Secondly, open yourself. Be filled. Thirdly, our weaknesses is not a hindrance. Jesus also has weaknesses. And it's not a heresy to say that. The only thing that Jesus differs from us is that He did not sin. Because He always hit the mark. He always is faithful to what God wants Him to do. God commissioned Him to do. God sent Him to do. So, I hope this is a big encouragement for each one of us. Don't just focus on your weaknesses. Don't say, I'm always repeating the same sin. I'm always going the same way. It is now the chance to really change from the very core, to understand our very being, and to change from there. Because There are a lot of positive things that God wants us to understand. He wants us not to build only on our weaknesses, because we will always have weaknesses. The only thing is, what are you doing? Are you doing God's will?